Fashion News opens its fashion vaults to the most important, influential, and trend-setting designers of the last 30 years. Designer Marathon brings you a unique chronicle of the milestone moments, the landmark collections, the exhibitions, the favorite models, and the creative process behind every designer's career. From the first to the last, from the shocking to the classic, follow the evolution of the world's top designers from rising star to fashion icon. It's all here in the vault, a retro-spectacular timeline, a designer marathon. In 1986, in an atmosphere of body-conscious glamour and unabashed sex appeal, 6 Belgian designers got together and traveled to London for a group show, introducing a darker, deconstructivist urban aesthetic. This landmark show established the Antwerp Six.
Our names already were so complicated that it was easier to promote ourselves as a Six from Antwerp than those difficult and complicated names.
Most of the Antwerp Six have been trained at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp under designer Linda Lopa, who instilled in her students a stringent work ethic.
So in the time when we started to study at the academy, the fashion department was really very small. But there was a teacher which really had very severe principles, really rules, which was very interesting because you have to be much more creative, I think, when you have somebody behind you which is really very severe.
Sometimes people ask me what is Antwerp style. It's very difficult to express. It's more the philosophy, the way of working, the small businesses, the very personal touch to the garment, an expression of a personal feeling.
Often described as shy, quiet and reflective, Dries Van Noten's garments are equally quiet. Humble shapes are thoughtfully rendered in rich materials, sampling silhouettes, embellishments, and color palettes from cultures around the world.
I travel, of course, but not so much. Mostly I travel in my mind. Due to my education, I've always been very interested in fabrics, colors, prints, and embroideries and things like that. So really the tradition and the skills in the fashion world, all these techniques.
Van Noten's emphasis on thoughtful details is reflected in his intimate runway presentations. Since the house doesn't advertise, Van Noten shows each season are his one chance to communicate his vision. For over 20 years, Van Noten has maintained control of his company and cultivated a loyal clientele. And in 2008, the CFDA acknowledged his quiet influence on the fashion world with a distinguished international award.
I'm really overwhelmed by the honor to receive this prize because coming from Belgium, I think it's not so normal that you get this award. So for me, it's really a big day in my life. So I like to be a little bit realistic. I'm not a person who wants really to have only fantasies about a certain woman. Really, I want to show garments for real life and real people. The whole thing is really kind of relaxed feeling, that it's not too tight and too dressed up and too aggressive. There's always a kind of softness, a kind of poetry about it, I think and I hope.
Around the world, fashion is keeping its eye on Belgium. It's the tiny European country that's home to young designers who are making it big. The creations of these newcomers reflect the new attitudes in menswear today. Dries Van Noten leans toward the more traditional. His modern classics are touched with nostalgia. Attention to detail and fine tailoring make Van Noten's designs notable.
Not to be modern. That's the new message in menswear from Belgian designer Dries Van Noten, who combines the traditional with the untraditional. This newcomer's undisguised talent screams style. His approach casual, his line classic.
I began very early. My father had a fashion shop in Antwerp in Belgium, and I was buying together with him starting from 16. So immediately after school I went to the fashion academy, and there, starting from the first year, I was already designing children's collections. So I started really at 18 years old designing collections. The collection which I'm making is very big. The price, quality, design relation is very good, I think. Really, you get very well made clothes in very nice qualities for a reasonable price. For menswear, the shapes are staying very basic. So a jacket stays really a jacket. Shirts are always very basic, but I play a lot with fabrics, which I design myself. A lot with small details like buttons, embroideries, things like that. So you have, for instance, the light blue jacket, which has a small, like a built-in waistcoat. So the shape of the jacket is a classic double-breasted jacket. The fabric, it's a crepe, which is very 100% wool. It's very nice fabric. Also the navy blue jacket with the woven-in stripe on the sleeve. In the last years, it was really men's fashion became really in fashion, and you had a lot of men's fashion victims, I think. So this season it's really jeans again, t-shirts, sweatshirts, mixed with classic items like jackets. So it's a little bit more classic, a little bit folklore also. So really much more casual and much more fun, less serious as last season.
Dries Van Noten, creating a new tradition in menswear now.
The fashion cognoscenti eagerly anticipate the collection of Belgian wonder Dries Van Noten, whose non-fashion consistently makes headlines.
I try to show not really fashion, but more different elements, separate items which you combine in the way you want. That's why it was a lot of masculine and feminine items which are mixed. Fabrics, it was also there, a mixture of masculine and very feminine fabrics. I started with a lot of menswear, where we started to work on the proportions. When you work on proportions of menswear, it can become very feminine. That's very important for me. That's also the new part of it.
Point of view from Dries Van Noten. Belgian designer Dries Van Noten started the Spring '96 ready-to-wear collections off with a splash. Noten staged his show in a drained swimming pool, diving right in with high style.
I wanted to have a fun location, so it was very important for me that When people came in, they were surprised, and especially coming to a swimming pool, you're always happy. It's nice to go to a swimming pool, so that's why we choose it. So what we wanted to do, especially this time, and also picking out, there was not one professional model, so it was all friends and people of the staff, and we did castings in London, so it was really not one model. So for us that was very important to show this collection, which was a combination between masculine and feminine. You had very masculine shapes, masculine fabrics, but then it was combined in such a way that it became very feminine also. That for me is so important, that really people can take the clothes which they like and which they feel well. It was really, with the aqua gym and the whole thing, it was really to do for fun. So, because sometimes fashion shows are becoming too serious and it's so, oh my goodness, so it was a lot of fun. For me, it was very important that we had a lot of fun. That for me was thing number one. Now Monday we start with a new men's collection for next winter, so no problem.
Choosing his show locations as carefully as his look for the season, designer Dries Van Noten sets the mood of this ethnic-inspired collection.
It was an old factory, which is now empty for 3 years, which is going to be teared down, I think, which is going to be demolished next month. So it was now or never.
Every season, Van Noten blends ethnic flavor with modern wearability.
It inspires me enormously. It gives so much dignity to the woman. And I really wanted to present that long, slender silhouette, which is typical also for ethnic people, like people in India and people in Morocco. Prints for me are very important. I like a lot to make prints, and especially to put them on muslin and on chiffon, so that you can make layers of it and that you can play with the transparency. The evening dresses spirit, which was in the collection. So and I wanted also to mix that with the cotton jacket. So it was really a muslin, nearly an evening dress on a man's pant and a cotton jacket. For me, silhouettes are possible like that. It's every season, it's all over again, so...
Dries Van Noten has continued his travels this season, but claimed that his influences were less specific than in the past.
The inspiration is not really one country or one region. It's European, you have very masculine jackets, basic white men's underwear, t-shirts, mixed with Indian, Indonesian, Chinese, African elements. When we started to study again the more ethnic garments, we saw that at the end, if it's European, Chinese, or coming from everywhere in the world, the basic shapes are the same. The silhouette is changing. Very new, I think, is the more square silhouette, the more rectangle. Why not try to make once this time a kimono, which is typical Japanese, Chinese style, in Bali print with an African embroidery, presented with a men's jacket on top of it, for instance. cotton this season. We try to make very noble. So we have embroideries in a very special way than you have tone-on-tone embroideries, for instance. Then we did also kind of shadow embroidery. The beading, nearly everything is done in India, where the people still have the skill and the sense of color to make nice combinations.
This sense of adornment translated onto the face and into the hair also.
The beading, it's just glass pearls. So we wanted to do something African, but in a very clean, modern way. The fashion coming from all over the world. I am very happy with the result.
At Paris's concierge, Dries Van Noten's Renaissance beauties walked among tables laden with grapes, wine and cheese, creating a charming rendition of an old master's painting.
The inspiration was the symbolist painters, so like Rossetti, Moreau, Burne-Jones and tout. Et bien sûr, and also of course they have a lot of inspiration of Belgian and Flemish painters like Memling, Bruegel, all these painters. So the mix of that, of course we had to choose this space for it because it was so perfect with it. Silhouette, it's really the atmosphere of the symbolistic painters, which we wanted to translate with very modern and actual garments. Clothes which everybody knows, like the jean skirt, a normal short skirt, boots, a men's jacket, white shirt, all these things. But to create another atmosphere, really to underline once again the power of garments so that you really can create a look with it. This time the garments were really very simple and very simple cut, so then the tailoring has to be very good, I think, otherwise.
Van Noten's simple long dresses and coats were made with his experimental use of fabrics.
This time we made a special fabric which was a mixture of merino wool with silk and cashmere and boiled afterwards. So they give really a used look but in a very soft and very light way. So and it, because of the silk, it takes in an incredible way colors. Yeah, I think there's maybe a lack of romance in the world for the moment. That's why I really want to underline it. I hope women have a dream, because that's very important, I think.
Windy port of Het Eilande, or Little Island, is where you'll find Antwerp's own Dries Van Noten.
That area, it's very, very nice because you have always a little bit of holiday feeling. When you look outside, it's completely something else, and also I think it's also very good contrast with fashion, because when you sail, you are really dependent of the wind, and you cannot control it yourself. You're really depending on where the wind is coming from. And in fashion, you try always to control everything, to organize yourself. So I think it's something good to be in balance.
It's an old building which was made in 1900, and it's the first building completely made in concrete.
This is where one of the Belgian romantics creates his men's and women's collections.
For me, fashion was always there. So my grandfather, my father and my mother were always working with garments and fabrics. So for me, it's difficult to say how it influenced me because I don't know anything else. Yeah, this is the pattern department, so here they try to make my designs into reality, to try and find the good shapes and the good fit and things like that. So it's a very important job. Belgian fashion most of the times is also a little bit inspired on art, so we consider fashion really as a passion. We just start from what we want to create, and afterwards we make those garments for women and men that they can wear them in the world. So it's really coming from our heart, and also that makes it a little bit more artistic, I think. And I think being a designer, it's always a struggle and it's always a surprise.
For more than 10 years, the store in the heart of Antwerp's fashion district manifests Van Noten's design philosophy.
I've always been very interested in fabrics, colors, prints, and embroideries and things like that. So really the tradition and the skills in the fashion world. But menswear is always like you need a very good balance between like really the black and the navy and all the really masculine classic colors. But then of course we put in like pinks and yellows and all like the strange green colors. Honestly, which inspires me for the most are colors. It can be work of Anish Kapoor, it can be a flower, it can be a lot of different things, but it's just really color which can stimulate me a lot and which has really like also emotional power for me. My hopes for the future is just that I still continue to like my job, and that's the most important thing I think for me. Because I like a lot what I'm doing, and I think you see it also in the work which I'm doing. And I think the moment that it's becoming just like a system, or when my heart is not anymore in my job, then you're gonna feel it immediately, because everything what I do is really straight out of my heart.
Van Noten transformed the École des Beaux-Arts into a hazy hothouse for spring. The collection began with angelic-looking whites. But as the dry ice cleared and earthy paleted grays appeared out of the mist.
This season we mostly wanted to make a collection what's kind of more plain looking. We are always working with a lot of prints and very visible embroideries and weaving effects and things like that. And this season I really wanted to do something which was looking like tone on tone, which in fact in the beginning we thought it was going to be more easy, but at the end which turned out to be much more difficult than when you really play with colors. Because when you put then like a grey and a grey-green and things like that together, the nuances, the subtlety of the color really has to be exactly right, otherwise it's wrong. A lot of those pieces also were in fact like garments which were changed of position. So we had like a lot of the dresses were in fact like long skirts in which you made armholes, and there were just like two little straps to give kind of twist to it. So in fact it seems rather simple, but it was not so simple to get there. We made them in really the softest material, like the silk pongé, which is like extremely thin, very delicate, and then several times washed, so that really gets like very airy. So in that way you can really make like big volumes without that it's getting like heavy. A lot of details. So often, for instance, we had like the layering in the pieces itself, so like a little layer of muslin under different things. But which is also very particular, were like the prints. Most of the prints were kind of more like a study of a print than a real finished print. So like lace prints, but which were like looking like hand-drawn by pencil, or like flowers, which is like big brush strokes, like just some big brush strokes on a pant and things like that. So instead of really doing like a finished collection, more like studies, like ruffles, but only in cotton. And you can imagine that afterwards maybe they're going to be made in silk. And like the prints, but then just like painted on the fabric. So it was for us, yeah, it was a nice collection to work on.
this winter we used a lot of the very bright colored foxes. And I wanted to give to a woman like a garment or a piece which is looking like fur, but fur in summer I think it's not necessary. Fur in winter it can be very nice, but fur in summer it's a little bit useless. So I wanted to create a little bit the same thing but with fabric. So I said, okay, we have ruffles in the collection, let's go all the way, and it's 10 meters of silk in one cape.
Mention La Courneuve to most Parisians, and they will tell you it's the Bronx of Paris. So the fashion flock were more than a little surprised when Dries Van Noten chose a 100-year-old factory space in which to show his spring collection.
To get the weary fashion press out at 11:15 on week 4 of the collections, you really have to put on a show.
Well, this promised to be more than just a show. In a venue that once produced fuel tanks, a banquet table was set for 500 guests, 250 waiters prepped, and models were ferried around in golf carts.
The starting point was quite simple, but then of course once you start with the whole thing it takes like a big size because we have to seat 500 people at one table. So the table got like 142 meters long, so we had to find the space to put the table like that in it. So it's all things like that, of course, which made things a little bit more complicated than beginningly expected, but I'm very happy now.
Guests were treated to a lavish 3-course meal. Once the entrees were cleared, 122 chandeliers were raised to make way for the 500-foot runway.
Starting point, it's Hungarian and Romanian folklore, but treated it a little bit in a more different way, more starting from volumes, more like shapes, a little bit more elegant, not always really like the folklore, so it's really like elegant shoes. Everything has to look a little bit more feminine, but still the colors are there, the big block stripes, really like black and white, a lot of red and black and white and things like that, and really rather big prints. So that's a little bit what you're gonna see. It's a little bit my character also. So every time, okay, you do something and people expect, okay, what you're gonna do next. So maybe, it has to be something more special. So we did like 300,000 Christmas lights. We did like 400 disco balls. We did like, but again, when you see then there, for instance, Christmas lights is something that has kind of a naive thing. It's not really very special and beautiful. Disco balls is also something like not too chic, and then the chandeliers here also are not really the most beautiful chandeliers, but just because you see them in a huge quantity.
So just the idea of everyone driving out to a suburb of Paris, sitting down at dinner, impeccably choreographed, having a great time, and then seeing amazing clothes, just such a respite from, the usual fashion fair.
What I especially like is that it opens, like for show 51, it opens all the possibilities. After you can do again whatever you want. Because after this one, I think, and after the shows what we did, we don't have to prove anything anymore.
Belgian designer Dries Van Noten was inspired by American painter James Abbott Whistler.
In fact, the starting point was paintings from Whistler. In the period that he made all these elongated silhouettes, the long slender silhouettes combined with the strong Japanese influence. So that he made all those really very long thin women in those kimonos and things like that. So I loved really the combination of that kind of arts and crafts women with Japan.
Although best known for a portrait of his mother, in the 1860s, Whistler was influenced by Japanese methods of design and was among the first artists to place Oriental objects in his paintings.
So we try to play it really as subtle as possible. So also by making the long slender silhouette and the long very narrow skirt with those big of blouses on top of it,
Really the contrast of volume and then the slender things. I wanted to play also something quite modern, but in a very my own way. But it was mostly also the prints. The prints we really took from Japanese kimonos from the 17th century. And but afterwards, of course, the shapes what we used are far more like modern or different. The only thing what was typical Japanese was the obi, the belts, what you saw several times. The prints which were intriguing me, the balance of printing a ground color and discharging color, taking colors away and adding colors. It's very specific, and I was really going very far into that. It's only a starting point, because those things it's impossible to reproduce, so you have to make your own version of that. That it really stays very feminine, very elegant. So the waist is really very important. So the lips for me, what we see is the bright red lips, and then just the waist. Just the way that the girls had to walk. We were working also very hard so that they walked in a very soft, feminine, without exaggerated way.
Dries was also inspired by the beautiful École des Beaux-Arts building he has shown in for many seasons.
We always show here. They say now it's going to be maybe the last time because they're going to still start to restore this place. So I don't know, maybe next time we still can show it, but then definitely it's going to be the last time.
The curtain rose, revealing a breathtakingly beautiful golden catwalk. Dries Van Noten's glistening path to his winter silhouette.
It's all gold, yeah. So in fact the first outfit is the idea of a very simple black jacket which is far too big, which we tie in so that you get a very interesting proportion. And she's also wearing gold shoes. So the idea is that she's walking on the golden floor and that gold takes over kind of the silhouette. This season I want to simplify the whole look of the collection. So we worked a lot about shape and volumes with a very strong accent on menswear. The smart little men's pants in rather traditional menswear fabrics. Jackets and coats are slightly more oversized, a lot of white and light blue shirts. But then we mix that with extremely embroidered pieces. Embroidery is my favorite thing, so I said if we do an embroidery, we just go all the way.
The incongruous mix of Ottoman Empire embellishment with the sobriety of modern menswear gave Van Noten's collection an undeniable strength. Even the use of historic Eastern prints seemed relevant.
Hold back richness of those designs when you have that crescent moon or the tulip. It's such a pure design that also normally we inspire us from Japanese prints or other prints. Now this time I really said no, we're just going to use them as they are because they are so perfect so that we cannot change their something because you know them also, those motifs. Shoes also there, more like kind of no-nonsense shoes, so more like pumps and things like that, but really put on kind of menswear heels, so very high heels, but everything started really more in a masculine way. I think women now had enough frills and decoration and colors and embroideries and all that. So I really would like to go back to more like shapes and rather a little bit more like a cleaned up version of our look.
The delicate pink floral backdrop was the perfect contrast to Dries Van Noten's more ruggedly chic summer collection.
I thought it was the perfect backdrop for this collection because I'm always very inspired by flowers and also the colors. You could see that in the show you have always a little touch of pink everywhere.
This season, Van Noten's signature prints took a back seat as the designer played with his notions of sportswear, right down to the high-heeled sneakers.
I wanted to make really something which is a mix of different elements. So I wanted to bring in some couture elements in sportswear and uniforms. So not so many prints as normal, but the prints are more subtle. The prints this season, I wanted really that they are really part of the collection. It's that where normally we really look that the prints are really standing out of it. So now it's more about kind of a spray technique, kind of an airbrush technique. I was more inspired this season by fabrics, the way that fabrics drape or don't drape at all really stand. So with taffeta, it's kind of very stiff silk satins, silk brocade, all these elements, which we mix with cottons and embroideries. I wanted to work a little bit more about shapes than really just like putting nice fabrics together. And of course, the moment that you start to discover like the possibilities of fabrics which are really giving kind of a nice attitude to the garment already, then it's really fascinating. And then just starting to play with drawstrings, which is then a very good mix of going like military shapes or kind of sportswear shapes, like little pant on an elastic belt and things like that. You can get kind of nice effects with it. So it was kind of a very double game a little bit of playing with those volumes, keeping it rather young and modern, but with the nice fabrics with it.
At a fashion show, the best seat in the house is not always the front row. This season, Dries Van Noten gave his whole audience a backstage pass for the entire show.
For me, I think the action backstage is also a lot of fun, and often there are more people who want to be backstage than front stage. So I thought maybe this is the perfect way once to combine both. And also I think it fits perfectly with my collection because okay, I can put the clothes on models and like that you see the whole thing. But I'm also a designer, I think, who always stays with his 2 feet on the ground and really to create kind of a real feeling in it. And this, I think, is also an interesting way to show that. A collection kind of a mixture of very elegant sportswear with some military references and also some Indian references. I really felt that I was ready to do once another take on India. So I developed a lot of different kinds of paillettes, sequins, but in plastic and in very strange colors like aubergine or faded yellow and faded orange. So like really kind of Indian shapes or Indian things, but in a completely different aspect. We have Indian draped skirt made in 100% polyester. So also the fabric research this season was really very important to develop, create new things in fabric, which enables us to do kind of shapes which we know, but the end result is completely different. Military, it's more in the pockets and things like that because I really wanted to make kind of a strong woman but not an aggressive one. So for me it's more kind of a lot of pockets and applications, sometimes in a cut, but most of the shoulders are really soft so that they stay very flattering. I think 90% of the collection of the fabrics we create ourselves, all the prints, all the embroideries, but also all the plain fabrics. And I think this season I really got a lot of possibilities by the manufacturers to do things, which of course is really nice because then you really can go very far. After seasons of 130,000 flowers and gold leaves, I wanted to create one's image and a dream in a different way.
So here it's more like the contrast between the dream and the reality. The dream before the curtain, the reality behind it. But still, with the curtain, that is kind of a magic in between those two.
Taking a dynamic approach to color and print, summer at Dries Van Noten was like a bouquet of wildflowers. While it was a traditional inspiration, the result was not.
The starting point was for me trying to reinvent the use of prints. Really started with a kind of a white fabric, like a canvas, and on that we started to print blocks and zones of different prints, one which have nothing to do with the one which follows. And afterwards we started to make clothes out of things. So it was prints of the 1950s, inspired on the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all mixed up. And then afterwards when you wear those outfits, 2 pieces sometimes, in 2 pieces you have sometimes really like 5 prints. I wanted to make really very soft feminine silhouettes. A lot of draped skirts, easy pants on elastic waist, so pyjama pants. So really very comfortable silhouette, but still with very elaborated and feminine details. A lot of smocking and little gatherings, just to give nice volumes of sleeves and things like that. There are bits and pieces of embroidery, so also embroidery I wanted to do something else, so that's why we used a lot of semi-precious stones like amethyst, malachite, lapis and all these things, amber, combined with silver to do bracelets, to do necklaces, to do embroideries on the garment itself. The shoes again there, we have two extremes, which is going like from the flip-flops, really the flat, easy, comfortable shoes, up until the really high stiletto heel. But everything is covered in the same prints and the same fabric, sometimes also completely embroidered with jewels and stones and everything, sometimes made in silk ribbons with semi-precious stones. So also there the shoe really becomes a very special object. Even the bags are in prints and embroideries. It's a completely different way. You don't have to layer, and you have really the richness of graphical and flowers of different areas and different atmospheres.
Breathtaking architecture of Milan and mundane global scheduling issues gave Dries Van Noten reason to decamp from Paris and present his summer menswear in the Italian city.
This is the first time that we're showing in Milano, which is very exciting after all those years in Paris, the first time in Milan, so it feels a little bit like the first fashion show again.
The romantic setting of the 18th century Palazzo Reale, illuminated by 1,500 candles, was enough to soften the tough guy image. Van Noten challenged men to rethink the notion of masculinity and their summer wardrobe.
It's really kind of a very strange mix between menswear and women's wear. The main message is colors. I wanted to make of the colors still a masculine look and a masculine message. I really wanted to do a lot of color in the menswear and also rather feminine fabrics, so fabrics which are used more, which have kind of a couture inspiration. But to keep it masculine, we did all those fabrics in really very masculine shapes, like sports, a lot of sports elements. There are judo pants, you have fencing pants, you have judo jackets and things like that. So it's a lot of sports scuba pants and all these things. So it stays rather masculine. It's not getting kind of disguising a guy in feminine fabrics. It's really menswear, I think. menswear is kind of a certain message what you send out on the catwalk. It's not really the idea that you see really men walking like that in the streets. So this is for me kind of the emphasis of the collection, what I show. But afterwards, of course, men are really free to choose pieces out of it and mix it in their own personal way.
Taking a step back from his signature ethnic style, this season Dries sought inspiration from marbleized prints of the early 20th century.
It's more like marble effect, which was a technique developed in the 20s, where the first time they could make really like the so completely over-the-top multicolor materials, which was very interesting. I really wanted to make kind of a homage to dressing. It's really like back to making garments to wear, but then using all the techniques and the skills. So shoulder pads, constructions of shoulders, bias cut sleeves, different types of plissé, fur, all these elements in fact which are really part of making nice garments for women. The biggest work for us is the beginning part, which is kind of creating all the fabrics and embroideries. Creating new fabrics, 9 different weaves just to create different glow to certain colors and all these things. Accessories, for me, I really wanted to go back to the essence. I think personally there is put far too many attention to accessories and to crazy accessories. For me, it's about garments, and the shoes are reduced back to the essence, in fact. Rather minimal, made really beautiful shoes and beautiful materials, very nice tan leather, but no crazy heels or crazy platforms. I don't sketch, really I work in my mind. I just try to think out kind of a whole silhouette, a whole story which I want to tell with my collection. And then afterwards we start to make more technical drawings. But I always am intrigued by using different things than people expecting from me, and also what I expect for myself. So I think also I want to surprise myself to keep the whole thing, because after all these years, of course, you have to stay enthusiastic and you have to like your job. And you have to surprise afterwards also the people with what you're doing.